Hello, friends. Today, the topic of presentation is barriers to international trade. Hi, I am Sumit Khurana from Shivaji Rao Kadam Institute of Technology and Management, Indore. Friends, as the world is becoming more global, the market is shrinking, and we can say that we are trading in the same market. But in spite of globalization, there are certain barriers of trading among the two nations. Today we are going to discuss about such barriers. If you look upon, there are two types of trade barriers. The one is tariff and the second is non-tariff. Tariff barrier means the tax levied on goods traded internationally. When imposed on goods being brought into the country, it is called as import duty, and when imposed on export of goods, it becomes export duty. Anything related to money is tariff. And when we talk about charging more money when we are buying, it is import duty. And when we say imposing more tax, it is export duty while exporting. Import duty is charged to increase the effective cost of imported goods in order to increase the demand for domestically produced goods. As we see, we are buying so many things from China and they are ready to sell it at such a low cost that creates lot of havoc or dissatisfaction among the domestic traders and domestic players. So government, to safeguard their interest, charges tax on the imported goods so as they become more costly, and as a result they can be at par with the domestic products. So that's why import duty is being charged. Export duty, on the other hand, is charged to discourage export, which is generally, on the goods where the country is facing problems of shortage, or government wants to promote export that goods in some other form. Government doesn't want to sell the raw material; rather, government wants to sell the finished products. So, as a result, if we talk about raw material, you charge export duty, but if you talk about finished goods, you may be even giving the subsidy. So that is how the government uses these barriers to restrict the international trade. But sometimes, when it is charged on goods passing through the country, sometimes the things are not coming to your country, but the goods pass through the countries. They use your port to stay. Then the tax which is being charged is called as transit duty. Friends, the tariff barrier, as we have seen, the types of taxes the government is being charging on import and export, that is on three different bases. The one is specific duty. It is a flat duty based on the number of units regardless of the value of goods. Suppose rupees 5,000 is the duty per computer imported to India. So in case if a person is importing 20 computers, he would be charged rupees 5,000 into 20. That is how it becomes 10 lakhs. Now, sorry, it was around 1 lakh. Now, when we talk about ad valorem duty, we can say that it is the percentage of the value of good. If a person is importing a Walkman or some instrument worth rupees 2,000, Walkman is an old age instrument. So Walkman or some other device worth rupees 2,000 carrying an import duty of 10%, it means you have to pay rupees 200 as duty charges. So instead of a flat rupee amount, we say the price and its percentage, the price of the instrument which you are importing, and we charge tax in terms of the percentage of the price. That is called as ad valorem duty. And sometimes it can be compound duty. Compound duty, as the name suggests, is a combination. It's a combination of specific and ad valorem duty. A book of rupees 500 carrying a specific duty of 25 and ad valorem duty of 2%, means you will charge 25 per book plus 2% extra. That would lead to the compound duty of rupees 35. Now, these barriers, as we can see, we have seen can be of two types, tariff and non-tariff. Tariff, we have discussed, it can be on import and export, and the policies of the government which decides to take the taxes. It can be on import, export. Now, when we talk about import tariffs, these import tariffs is to increase the price of goods coming to the country. The other reason can be to discourage their consumption as well. And the third is to protect the domestic producers. So you can find the reasons why the import duties are being charged by the government. Just to increase the price of the goods, or it can be to discourage the consumption of those goods, or to protect the domestic producers. These tariffs, lower the standard of living of a country as compared to free trade, because they hurt consumers more than they help the producers. If something which I can buy at a lower rate, although it is coming from some foreign country, can be cheaper at my house, but government when imposes the tax, it increases the cost. So that is why we can say it can lower the standard of living, but there can be some patriotic reason behind that, or there can be some other reason. That's why the government is imposing the tax, or maybe to increase the revenue of the government. That can be another reason. Export duty is imposed to discourage export in case of shortage in domestic commodities. Suppose onion, you are looking onto the onion prices going day by day up, so government can stop exporting. Government can ask people to stop export onion, or if you want to even export it, we will charge tax on that. So that is export duty. When imposed on goods passing through the country, as we have seen, it is called as transactivity. We have also seen specific duty, which is in terms of the rupee value per item. It can be on the percentage value of the goods, it can be ad valorem duty, or it can be compound duty, the combination of both. But now when we come on to non-tariff barrier, not directly related to money part, a wide range of government policies other than tariff designed to affect the volume or composition of international trade of the country is called as non-tariff barrier. It is not directly tariff, money, rather it is the other way around. All rules and regulations, bureaucratic delays which help in keeping the foreign goods out of the domestic market are called as non-tariff barriers. They can be in form of technical barriers. You are not meeting the requirements. They can be in terms of procurement policies of the government. They can be international price fixing. They can be the exchange control. They can be direct or indirect restrictions on financial institutions. They can be on transportation cost. They can be custom valuation. Looking on to one by one, the first one is technical barrier. Countries generally specify some quality standards to be met by imported goods for various health, welfare and safety reasons. In India, we don't follow such type of norms so seriously, but foreign countries, especially European nations, America, they have a very serious norms because the quality of life there is very, very important for the government. They want the best life for their people. So they actually want to have certain restrictive policies while buying the goods from some other nation. So those barriers which they put on to meet their standards are called as technical barriers. This facility can be misused to block import of some specific goods as well. So government can use this facility to, block the import of some specified goods if the government wants. This process can be further be made more complicated by imposing some certification or testing from country itself, which can be expensive, which can be time consuming for the exporter. So generally the exporter avoid trading with such type of nations. The next is procurement policy. Government sometimes follow the policy of procuring their requirement only from local companies, or at least extend some price advantage to them. So if government is buying for the government use, it can say that no, we just want to buy it from the local producers. That is what is being happening these days in COVID period. Government is supporting MSMEs and they are avoiding the Chinese goods to be used in their own country. So as a result, government says we want to buy from the MSMEs. So as a result, that could be a procurement policies which avoid use of foreign products in the nation and promote the domestic products. The next barrier is international price fixing. Some commodities are produced by limited number of producers scattered around the world. In such cases, these producers may come closer to form a group and limit the production or price of the commodities so as to protect their own profits. So that also leads to a barrier. Oh my God, so costly. We need not to buy that till the price becomes less. OPEC nations, that is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, they come together, they fix up the price. All the world nations need to follow that price. Exchange control, another method, another technique, we can say. It's not a method, it's a technique of restricting the trade. Controlling the amount of forex available to residents for purchasing of foreign goods domestically or while traveling abroad is another way of restricting imports. So government says if you're going out, Mr. X, you cannot carry more than $5,000 with you. So you cannot buy above $5,000. So that is automatically sort of restriction for you to buy the foreign goods and bring it to your own nation. That is exchange control. In spite of you having money, you cannot buy it because of the national interest. Further, we have direct or indirect restriction on foreign investment. Countries may directly restrict foreign investment to some specific sectors up to some percentage of equity. As a result, thus restriction can be in form of limit on the profit. That is also a barrier of trading or globalization, you can say. Transportation cost is again a very big cost which is affecting the global trade. Cost of moving goods from one market to another market has same effect as tariff, although they are natural barriers. Transportation is a distance, and distance naturally affects the price of a particular product. People living across in nearby Calcutta and Assam, those people have an easy access to buy Chinese or Nepali goods rather than buying the things from Mumbai. So you'll find markets in Assam, market in Calcutta, West Bengal. These people have easy access to buy those goods, which are more closer to the neighboring country rather than the domestic goods because the transportation cost is so high. Custom valuation is another technique of reflecting the barrier. There is a valuation of goods when imported or exported as they may not reflect the correct value or real cost and duty is being levied on them. Sometimes you make a dummy bill and then you show it to the custom people. They say, oh my God, you have such a costly watch and the price is just $1. They make their own price, then they charge tax on it, and then only you would be allowed to come in. That is how they can affect the price. Quota, limit on the number of units that can be imported or market share held by foreign producers. Example, US impose quota on textile imported from India. Above this price, above this quantity, you cannot buy. So that is how you restrict the market share of the Indians. Embargo, it is a situation when imports from particular country are totally banned. We don't want to buy from Pakistan, we don't want to buy from China. That's the best thing we can do. That is embargo. Political reason is basis for this. Example, UN imposed embargo on trade with Iraq in 1990s. And then another barrier for international trade is subsidies to local goods. You give special subsidies to the local goods. So that is one of the biggest advantage you are providing to the domestic producers. Local content requirement. Company producing goods in the foreign country may have to produce for that country at a cheaper rate and also to give employment to local nationals. This can be the restriction by the country where the companies are situated. So that can be one of the reasons. You can find most of the American nations, Donald Trump says, no, we need to have the restriction of having 30% or 40% or 60% employees from America itself. So you can't bring more Indians in a company which is situated in US. So that is one of the reasons you can avoid trading. Tariffs, as you can see, are the sources of revenue to the government. And apart from this, certain national goals are also fulfilled. Most of the sectors, defense, cultural, environmental protection, can't be opened for foreigners. That can affect us. Further reasons for imposing the trade barriers can be the price equalization. As an international demand for a particular commodity produced in a country grows, price of a factor of production grows in that country simultaneously. As a result, price of the same factor in another country reduces, which gives rise to demand from those sectors for protection of domestic industries, local jobs, and level of factor prices. These sectors serves as a powerful lobbying groups for putting up the trade barriers. Otherwise, the things would become costly in domestic nations, and you have to people start buying from the foreign countries, and as a result, there would be disequilibrium. So, government wants to make the things more stable and cool. That is why they used to bring the barriers. Anti-dumping tool. The barriers act as an anti-dumping tool. When some foreign country subsidize its exports, country countervailing duty can be imposed. So if foreign country is subsidizing its local product, you can also put more tax on those products which are cheaper coming to India to avoid the price disequilibrium. Proposition for large countries, which can affect the prices of domestic goods of various other nations. As a result, tariffs can be imposed. So these are the important points which we need to remember always for imposition of trade barriers, because these can be good questions which can be asked. Why trade barriers when we say global? To protect infant industry with the growth. You want to promote the local industry. Used to increase the demand for domestic goods and increase the domestic employment. That is another reason. To reduce expenditure in foreign currency and improve BOP. That is a very important factor. Helping exporters build up world market and encouraging the local production. To avoid drawbacks of international trade, that is unequal distribution of benefits among the various sectors of society, short-term unemployment, etc. That has to be avoided. That is why the barriers are being imposed. To avoid changes in comparative advantage, which may arise due to advancement of technologies in other countries. Although we'll discuss comparative advantage in some time, but comparative advantage is one of the major reasons for global trade. So those changes to be avoided, you need to bring the barriers. There can be further political reasons or international sanctions. So now if you look upon to all the things with a simple flow chart, we can say the impact of trade barriers on the economy is to increase the cost of foreign goods, to shift the domestic demand towards domestically produced goods. It can be the source of the revenue to the government. And faced with the higher price, consumer reduce consumption of that goods to avoid the people reducing those products. Thank you so much.